Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're going to take a look at a new project that I'm starting. It's a project that's going to be very similar to one that I've done before. So basically we're going to write, we're going to record, we're going to do the artwork, we're going to master, and we're going to distribute a whole EP. The main idea here is that I'm going to record every step of the process to really document how I'm going to create an EP like that from start to finish. The mood of the EP is going to be very lo-fi hip-hop, the kind of music you can hear on the 24/7 lo-fi channels on YouTube. I'll discuss a bit further the ideas for the EP in another video, but for now let's start right here with the first song. Alright, so I just opened a Cubase session, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about everything that I did in the session, and I'm going to explain why I did it and how I did it. So let's start right here with the percussions. So for the percussions, I started with kick and snare. And I ended up adding a layer of claps over the snare a bit later in the song. It's very subtle, but it's small changes like this that will keep the song interesting, just small things to notice while listening. Over this, I have a hi-hat playing. It's very simple, but it's already making the drum more cohesive. Nothing too fancy, we're not trying to create super crazy drum parts here. Over this, I tried a bunch of different percussions, and I ended up just using one of them. Here, you can see I used 4, but I just kept one of them. It's actually this one, and we can hear in a mix. So it's just a kind of very verby snare, just adding some extra textures. It just felt right to have this. And yeah, for the percussions, that's pretty much all I have in the song. Next, let's take a look at the rhythm section. For the rhythm section, we'll see here that I have 2 piano parts. I'll explain a bit later why I have 2 of them, but yeah, let's just listen to the piano. And this piano is actually a loop. We can see the full thing here. It's actually 2 different parts, but I'm looping over the first part, and later on I'm looping over the second part. I try to do stuff like that with loops just to keep them more interesting. If you just use a full loop, it's hard to make it sound unique, it's hard to make it sound different. So you can do a lot of things like pitch change, you can do time stretching, you can do FX automation in them, and we can actually see some of that just right here. I have some chops going on here, and also I have an automation making the piano go from stereo to mono. And this is where the second piano kicks in, because it's taking where the first one is leaving. So just a bunch of stuff like that, and there's more chops going on later in the song. But yeah, it's really just making sure that if you use a loop, you make it interesting and you keep it interesting. Next, let's take a look at this bass. So for the bass, I went for an 808 style bass, and it's really nothing too fancy, just keeping it very simple, and I'm adding just some effects here using an auxiliary track, just making it a bit wider, squashing it a little bit, just giving it some texture, some extra character. And I also have a bunch of pitch automation going on. I tried to make stuff different with it, to just keep it moving. Stuff like that helps. we can see later on I have some really pretty audible pitch automation. So it's really just stuff like that. Bass is pretty simple, but we keep it interesting using pitch automation and some effects on the sides. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the rhythm section. Next, we're going to look at the leads. So for the leads, I wasn't sure whether or not I needed them in the song. I tried a bunch of different stuff and ended up finding this guitar loop that I actually played. I recorded it, I edited it a little bit, I put on a clean tone to it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Some reverb, some delay. Let's listen. Really super simple, but it's really sweet, and it just felt right in the song. We can see here the effects that I'm using. I have a vibrato. It's probably just the same as the bass. I'm just using it to give some extra character. It's really low in the mix, just making it stand out a little bit. And for the leads, that's pretty much all I used. Next, we can look at the ambience. For the ambience, I'm going with the style of the EP really, which is lo-fi hip-hop, lo-fi chill music. I added some vinyl crackling, pretty basic, it's often used, but it just really works. And that's how it sounds. And over this, I also have this, I called it earpad. Actually felt that maybe something was missing on the ambient side, so I opened Serum and I just did a quick patch with it, and yeah, it's actually just a very wide pad. It's just giving shots at different points in the song, just a super breathing pad. So just a super long note, and it's eventually fading out. Happens a bunch of different times in the song. And yeah, for the ambience, that's pretty much all I did. And next we can look at the highlights. So the highlights in this song are pretty important. They're really making it stand out. Without the highlights, we have a good backbone, we have a good idea for the song, but the highlights are really just making it shine. And they're just really cool. So the first one I got is this. I called it guitar flute. It's actually a mix of both. It's originally it's a loop. I did some fades, used different parts at different points. I'll show you the loop, completely dry. And this is with the effects. And it's really just that it's they're at a bunch of different places, not evenly spaced. Just really just making it's just a cool texture to add to the song. And all the fades are a bit different. All the parts are cut a bit different too. Just making every parts of this track unique, so that it doesn't feel like a loop that we take the same part and repeat it all over again. And then the last thing I added for highlights is this organ. This organ, I'll show you without and with the vibrato. So yeah, very simple, and it's just playing those small notes a bunch of different times in the song, and it just gave an extra texture again. And this pretty much covers the whole song, so let's just listen to the whole thing together and we'll see. that's all I'm going to show for now for this song. I'm going to write the other songs and I'm going to record the process that went behind it in the next weeks. Eventually the whole EP is going to be available online, most likely on Bandcamp, but we'll see about those steps a bit later in the process. Alright, so that's all for now. Thanks for listening and I'll see you for the next song.